looks like we're live. All right, Jim, we are golden.
Well, welcome to New Tracks Meetup. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I really do appreciate it. We all do. Hope you'll come back often and hope you tell your friends about it. The more the merrier. I hope that you will go to our website. It's called newtracksmodeling.com. newtracksmodeling.com and register at our website. We do several different things. We do these live meetup shows every Wednesday and Saturday evening at 7 o'clock. We are booked with guests through April next year. And it's been fascinating for me to be able to find some of the great modelers in the world and have them agree to come on our show and talk to us like Andy is tonight. So it's newtracksmodeling.com. That's our website. You'll get an email for all of our shows. In addition to these shows, every 2 months we do a virtual train show. We had our last one Saturday. We had 43 slots sold for that train show. It lasted too long, everybody tells me. The one in January, we're going to have up to 60 vendors. It's going to be run over 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. January the 16th and 17th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time on both days. And we've got some different things scheduled for that train show that we haven't done before that we think it's going to even make it better for everybody and more enjoyable. So I hope you'll put it on your calendar and come to it. Now, I'm sending out invitations to vendors that have not previously appeared in any of our train shows. And I'm going to send those out this coming Sunday afternoon. If there is a vendor out there, a model railroad vendor who would like to be in our show, then if you will send me an email, if you will let me know that you're interested, then I'll talk to you. I need to know what your telephone number is. I need to know what your email is, and I will definitely contact you. So if you're interested, then please send me an email and let me know about it, because Sunday I'm sending out the invitations. I have 42 of the 60 slots filled as I sit here right now. So I have that many left in order to fill. Each vendor gets 5 minutes or 10 minutes, their choice, but a maximum of 10 minutes. So if you're interested, please send me an email. Okay, so much for the train show. We have, well, not really. We've got 2 sponsors for our train show now. We've got Scott Gear, who has the Great Scale Model Train Show in Timonium, Maryland, and he is our sponsor. And we have Joe Fugate of MRH Media LLC, and they are our sponsors. So we're really pleased that both of those companies were interested enough in what our train shows were doing that they decided that they'd like to be sponsors of our train shows. And we really thank them so much and appreciate their interest. The next thing I want to talk about is if you are a vendor, and I don't know who's here tonight, but I'm only going to announce this tonight. I've announced it on our train show the other day, and I'm going to announce it tonight, and then I'm through with it. We are going to start, we're going to see if we're going to start, but we think we are. We're going to have a meeting on December the 15th, vendors only. And the meeting is going to talk about marketing. It's going to talk about development of your business. It's going to talk about the possibility of international marketing and how to do it. It's going to talk about domestic market, how to reach markets. What market are you trying to reach? That's for vendors only. I sent out invitations today to 8 companies that had contacted me based on my statement of this at the last train show. And I mention it tonight. Again, send me an email. And Dylan, if you can put my email up on the chat function for everybody, I appreciate it. This is for vendors only, and it's we're not trying to get a large number of people. What we're trying to do is notify the vendors that this is going to be, in my opinion, the organizational meeting. Do you want to have meetings like this? What do you want included in meetings like this? How many people do you think we should have in the group at one time? All of those are organizational issues that need to be addressed, and that's what this meeting is about. So if you're a vendor, if you're interested in marketing your company and developing your business, then let me know if you'd like to attend our meetings. Dylan is starting to talk about the historical aspects of modeling and of the real railroading in the country. And we're going to see if we can start a series of the historical museums around the world that have modeling and real railroad museums that can benefit us as modelers to help us in trying to research and develop both possibly kits if you're a new manufacturer, or just develop your model if you're trying to scratch build something. So we're trying to find the right person to head that up for us. And that's what Dylan is looking for right now and talking to one individual. And we'll let you know more about that shortly. We have a guest coming on December the 10th. George Silius is joining us. And this is going to be at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Eastern on December the 10th. And we're going to be advertising that widely as soon as Chris Corse, our marketing person, gets that put together for us. You'll start seeing the post about it around. But George is our guest, December the 10th. This will be a show with George only. And we think that you'll really enjoy this because this is not just seeing pictures. This is not just videos. We're actually going to sit and talk to George. The same as we sat the other night and we talked to Howard Zane. We didn't really go to the basement with Howard. We didn't really see his railroad. We learned how Howard builds a passenger car in less than a day. A wood passenger car in less than a day. Well, we saw what his plans were. We saw the models that he's built. The HO scale cars, the passenger cars, the freight cars. And we talked about philosophy with Howard. And I think from the feedback that I got, it was very well received and people really enjoyed it. So anyway, George is going to be our guest December the 10th, and we hope you'll put that on your schedule. Chris Corse, of course, does our My Bill segment December the 12th, and another one on December the 23rd. So if you want us to be able to see your models and what you're building and talk about it with us and share it with us, Dylan, if you can put Chris's email up, if you can contact Chris, then we'll make sure that you get on the show. The last time we did this, Chris had so many people, some of the people didn't get to show their models. And we want to make sure that we've got plenty of time this time so that everybody can participate. So that's December the 12th, December the 23rd. Paul Thompson can't be here tonight. Paul does our quick tips each show. So we have TC Carr that's going to fill in for him and do Paul's quick tips tonight. So TC, welcome, and thank you for taking over for Paul for a few minutes.
Well, I unmute myself and I share my screen, and hopefully this works. Okay, play. That's me, not that anybody cares. Okay, first thing. I got this tip from MRH. I don't remember if it was in an editor's note or one of the talks, but this is a finger bowl used by people to do fingernails, soak their fingernails. It's a really little, it's about 1 inch square, little lid. I use it, it was suggested to use it to put glue in. because stuff won't stick to the glass, or you can chip it right off. Okay, this is a needle. Everybody, or most everybody, knows about the trick of cutting the tip off and getting two little prongs, and you use it to put glue where you want it. That's a magnifying glass. You can see my finger there. That is a very small needle. This is another kind of needle. I show two pictures because that needle is actually split. The eye is not closed. It's made to feed from the end, not try to poke through the needle. Okay, so I put my glue in my little bowl, and with that very fine, very small needle, I didn't clip it, just use it as a loop. And I got this idea from Glue Looper. You can look them up. They sell these commercially to go in a hobby knife holder. And they have another kind that we'll talk about in a second. Lots of people have these commercially. Just run that along, and because you don't have an open end, it spreads the glue instead of dropping in one place. Now, here I've got, this is blurry, I apologize. I've got the thick CA in my little cup, and I'm using that split needle. I'm gluing two pieces of wood together. There's a small gap. So you fill it up. And when you get done, you take a flame, I use a little lighter, glue it, flame it real good and it'll turn white. And then you can just flake it off with a metal brush. And that's my tip for the night. They cost a lot less than the commercial versions. By the way, I've got needles to spare if anybody wants to yell at me about that.
PC, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Hope
easy.
everybody benefit.
Yep, quick tip for the night.
So now I'd like to introduce our featured modeler, Andrew Keeney, and his Nashville line, I call it, but he calls it Nashville Road, I think. This is the second time that Andrew's been on our show. The first time was so successful and he did such a fantastic job. We didn't get to really see everything we wanted to see, so we invited him back, and he graciously agreed to be with us. So Andrew, thank you so very much for coming back. At least we didn't scare you off the first time, and we're really looking forward to seeing more of your model railroad this time.
Oh, very good. Thank you. You ready for me to put mine up now? Let's see. Share screen. You walk me through this if I get it messed up. There we go. And okay, can everybody see that okay?
Got it.
Okay, good. This is a little bit long presentation. I've been working on this right along. The first one I had was specific to my backdrop painting and basic scenery. And I've been working on this one, basically how my railroad came about, what I wanted out of it, and how I got there. So this is kind of an open discussion as I go. If someone has a question, however you set it up, Jim, they can either just ask outright, or if you'd rather them do it through chat, that's fine with me, whatever you'd like.
Let me just hold on. Everybody's open mic on this as far as we're concerned. This is what we want to do is have people get to know you a little bit if possible, and talk to you about what they're seeing and what you're doing. So it's open mic or the chat at whoever wants to talk can.
Okay, that's fine with me. If you have a question, it's a lot better to answer it while we're in that subject than wait until we get to the end and trying to remember where we're at. Okay, a little background about me modeling. I've been a model railroader all my life. Of course, I I took a little time off when I first got married and the kids and that, but model railroading has always been with me. Of course, once I retired or as I got older and the kids were gone, I really got back into it heavy. And in 95, 4 days before Christmas, my house burned down and I lost all my model railroad equipment. And although it was very sad and it was hard on the family, we luckily lost no people, but we lost several pets. And it took us a while. They built us a new house and we were back into our house in 96, around August, I believe it was. But it gave me, from a model railroad point of view, a new start. And I did have a large collection, well, fairly large for me, collection of brass, C&O and B&O. And my future railroad was going to be C&O and the B&O, along with my own railroad, the Michigan and Ohio. When I decided to start looking at what I wanted to do, my two actual favorite railroads are the Rock Island and the B&O. And I wanted to incorporate them along with a fictitious railroad that I would have for myself. And I didn't want Chicago. I didn't want Indianapolis. I was trying to look at a place that I could use, a city that wasn't so big that I couldn't do it justice. And looking around, I finally decided that Nashville would work with a lot of modelers' license. And you'll see during this that I brought the B&O in from Louisville to Nashville and the Rock Island up from Memphis to Nashville, and they interchanged. That gave me east-west traffic, and then my own railroad, the Nashville Road, or the Chicago, Indianapolis, Nashville, and Southern would be the North-South Railroad. So we'll start from there and we'll just go through here and I'll talk about these different things. So this is known as the Nashville Road, and it's 1956, but as you can see, we're working on a 1969 era. And I have quite a fleet of, I'm partial to Alcos, quite a fleet of Alco Centuries and other big Alco units that we'll be using for road power on that version, which probably another year or so. It centers on the city of Nashville, Tennessee. Bowling Green is to the north, that's staging north, and Columbia, Tennessee is staging south. Nashville is about midway point. It's approximately 96 miles from start to finish, from staging to staging, using 12 foot to the mile, or as some people call it, the smile. There are 6 railroads that operate on this modeled portion. And the Nashville Road has, on the layout is 3 yards and a passenger terminal. So the design of the railroad, I designed something on paper and it was one deck. That's what I was used to. And it was all city, and at each end, you had to go into staging, and there wasn't really a long run. And I went and visited John DePaw, and I liked what he did with multi-deck. So I came back and redesigned my layout and added a second deck. So that gave me a nice long run from Nashville to staging in one direction, but the other direction was another short run into staging from the city. So I later went to see Bruce Chubb's layout and realized I could add additional staging, decks, watching what he did. And I added a third deck, and that took me out of Nashville the opposite direction with a nice long run. So that's what I went with, 3 decks. And just going down the high points here, the center deck is the city of Nashville. It's a double track main line, and it will be CTC'd. It's not yet, but we allow the crews, once they get on the double track, just to run, and they clear themselves. It's mainly city and such. The single track with passing sidings and timetable train orders. The upper deck is to the south to Columbia. Passing sightings and
Andrew,
timetable.
you're having trouble with your voice. It's coming and going.
Uh-oh. It's breaking up.
It was, yeah. At least for me, it was.
Okay, because I've got my TV or my cell phone off Wi-Fi and my wife's off Wi-Fi. I don't think I have anything on.
It's fine. It's fine right now. As we're
Okay.
talking, it's fine. So,
Okay, well, if it breaks up again, let me know if you're missing something.
okay.
So, I'll just start staging. I can stage 45 trains in 5 different staging yards, from 1 and 2 tracks up to 10 and 12 tracks. The nice thing about working on this railroad for me and for the crews, no matter where you're at, you're always looking west. So north is always to the right and south is always to the left. And that's because we use a nolix or make the room the helix rather than have helixes getting from one to the other. Is it still sounding okay, Jim?
Yes, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, this is just an overview. If you look at the top, Chicago and Detroit, both main lines come down to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a major reclassification yard on the Nashville Road. From Indianapolis, you go south. Let's see, I'll use my pointer here to Louisville. And then Bowling Green is at this point, and you can see the rectangular box. All this within the rectangular box is modeled. So Bowling Green is staging, then down to the city of Nashville, and then down to Columbia, staging at the south end. And then the railroad goes on to Birmingham and New Orleans. So, and here just I explained a little about Rock Island B&O. Here in Memphis, the Rock Island actually came as far as Memphis. So I added its own track to the Nashville Road. Then it has running rights into Nashville. Same with the B&O, got as far as Louisville. And so I extended the B&O's run into Nashville on Nashville Road trackage. And they have their own yard, Ribo Yard, which is RI B&O. And they interchange at that yard. So there's 2 large yards, both busy and handle a fair amount of road trains. Okay, this is just a little bit cleaner showing the B&O line across the top here, Cincinnati, and the B&O drops into Louisville, and the same down here. Okay, the railroad. I've already given you the name. It's a majority owned by the L&N and Milwaukee Road. In the story, Dave Hussman and I created a history for this railroad, which I really appreciate his help with his experience. And through receiverships and bankruptcies, the L&N and Milwaukee bought enough of the railroad to take it over. The L&N wanted it because it was trying to get a hold of all the railroads in and around the Nashville area. It had already taken the NC St. Louis. And the Milwaukee Road wanted it because it gave them a route from central Indiana, where they got to, all the way down to the Gulf. So it gave them a new route for more traffic. The Nashville is the division point. The Guthrie sub is to Louisville, and that's to the north to Bowling Green. The Cassidy sub to Birmingham, Alabama to the south. The 2 freight yards are Gresham Yard, that's the main yard in Nashville, and Cedar Hill Yard is a satellite yard a little north of Nashville that they run several local trains and switchers out of. And then along with that, we have Nashville Union Pasture Terminal. The 5 supporting railroads are the B&O and the Rock Island. We already discussed them. The Louisville runs from a staging yard representing their yard to both of the main yards, Ribo and Gresham, twice a day, 1 to each yard. And the same with the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis. They run to both the main yards. and that creates more traffic flow. The Tennessee Central has its own staging track, and it comes out and services 2 towns, which we'll discuss, and then it interchanges with the Nashville Road, and then it returns to its yard. And here again, I basically discussed this already with the B&O Rock Island. Okay, the Nashville Road layout design. 3 levels. Lowest level is 16 inches off the ground, and that is actually the 4th level. That is staging at Bowling Green. And you can ask any of my buddies here that are up in our senior years, and it's not much fun working on that yard. But it does do the job, and there's actually 22. We're using 10 of them right now. There's 12 additional tracks. So deck heights for the actual layout at 31 inches, 45 inches to 48 inches, varies a little, and 62, give or take, around the layout. The upper staging is at 62 inches. And we'll discuss the layout activity locations. I'll tell you what I mean by that later. And then the aisle widths and pinch points that I had to consider. Okay, the 5 staging tracks. This is Bowling Green. This is down at 16 inches. And we got trains all ready to go. We have, I should point out, we have 70 something trains on a 24-hour schedule, and it takes 3 sessions for us to run 24 hours. Our sessions run from 5 to 6 hours. And that means these trains, they run every month and a half or so. Here's just a little bit different view with fewer trains. The other half over here, I had a lot of stuff sitting, just stored, and we've now cleaned that off, and this side will be starting to be used. There's 12 additional tracks there and 10 tracks here. Okay, this is Columbia staging. Now, you notice all the steam engines. The Nashville Road from Nashville to Birmingham, Alabama, it's the last bastion of steam, and everything that runs south of Nashville on the Nashville Road is steam. And you can see this one is actually double-headed, which means we have 2 crews since you can't consist steam engines. So we'll put 2 crews on a long train and or a larger engine on some of the other trains that can handle it. Rock Island is the other train or the other railroad that you'll find at Columbia. And is another picture. You can see it goes into a curve, follows the background. And here again, it follows all the way around that staging there. And there will be another staging that I'll discuss a little bit on the other side of this wall, 8 additional tracks. Okay, Guthrie, now what I'm going to do is take you from the south end of the railroad to the north end of, the north end of the railroad to the south end of the railroad. And no, I'm not. This is still staging. So we'll do the south or north to south in a bit. This track right here is the L&N staging track, the original L&N staging track. They came off the main line here. They went in between the what would be the backdrops, and they were completely hidden. I didn't like that at all, and I didn't want to go with that. This track right here is actually just a stub-ended track at both ends. It represented Tennessee Central, and this was an interchange track with the Nashville Road. I wanted more out of it than that. So I ended up making some changes. And as you'll see, some of the pictures I'll show you as we go. Some are better quality than others. My camera's changed through the years and such. So I've just thrown these all together. So the L&N track now comes across, and then the inbound track comes up and goes all the way to the back of the or the end of the peninsula, then loops back, and these 2 tracks represent the L&N staging. And I'll show you another picture of that in a minute. This track is now the Tennessee Central, and there's just a stub track in there. The trains just go in far enough to hide, and then they're brought out when they have to, when they're running. This track right here is the L&N when it comes in from the back wall there, and it comes all the way around the end of the peninsula. And right about this point, there's a switch that gives you 2 tracks, and you can see the 2 tracks here. So these trains are ready to run. Now, this is the backdrop we've got up for now, and Tennessee Central's here, and the L&N is down this wall. I'll be putting up a view block before it's done, so you won't see those trains, but you can reach in and get them. And that portal there is when you're coming back in, they go through there around the back and come back into here. Okay, this shows you the Tennessee Central. It goes through this wall and it circles around and it comes back into Adam, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. Okay, Franklin staging. Franklin Junction, which is up on the 3rd deck. The NC St. Louis has a train that goes to each of the main yards each day, and that's what these represent. I built this view block here, the hill, and I'll show you the next picture. This is what it looks like today. Been scenic that and the backdrop in there, so it looks a little better. All these buildings are stand-ins just for now till we can put the buildings we actually want. We haven't got to that point of getting that many buildings on the layout. This is stub-ended staging. So the trains are pulled out and reversed and the cars reset between sessions. Okay, multi-deck, the 16 inches. The deck, although the track's a little higher, the deck is 31 inches here. This is Gresham Yard up here, you'll see more of, and that is approximately 45 inches. And then up around 62 inches up here on the upper deck. And this is Cedar Hill. This is without the lower, just the 31. Ribo Yard's up here, and the upper deck is up here, 62. And Tim Childs is sitting on one of these little roller chairs that we're using, and they work perfect for the 31 chin deck. We have put new carpeting down, commercial carpet squares. So it's going to be interesting to see how well these things roll on them. But we can still sit on them, just they might not roll as well. Okay, this is the upper deck that goes into staging. There's your staging. What I want to point out here is the nolix. So the room becomes the helix. And right at this point, at the end of this small peninsula, the tracks all start climbing that are going to the next deck. So this isn't actually a double main. It's a passing siding and a main. There, the passing siding ends. It starts its climb at this point, and I'm using a 1/4 inch to the foot or 1 inch to 4 feet. And the track continues. It'll go through an opening here, a portal, and then it'll be hidden behind scenery. The second deck, same thing. The track goes across this bridge here, continues to climb, and then there's a city viaduct back here that it goes along. And it comes out up here. The lower one here will come out on this double track right here. So here's the city viaduct. Down below, you can see the other track continuing to climb. Then the city viaduct goes in here and it climbs around the furnace room and then out to here on the 3rd deck. And then the lower one you can see here goes into the furnace room and around. You'll see a picture of the furnace room in a minute. And it comes out behind this building. And then that switch right there turns a single into a double main line, I should say, double main line. So right here's the furnace room. Coming out of that hidden area down below on the 1st deck into the 2nd deck, and then the 2nd deck up to the 3rd deck. And this is staging. Staging has to, the trains come up and they reverse direction when they go into staging. So here's showing you how many people we can get. We have at least 20 people during these opera sessions. Sometimes they're a little bit more. And this is about 4 feet. It can still get crammed up, but at least we can get by each other. So it's a kind of a busy place, especially with this yard here. Ron's using one of those roller chairs, and you can see even though Ron's sitting out a bit, there's all kinds of room for him to get by. 3 foot or less would never work here very well. And it's really nice to have these chairs to use because you've got quite a long area and a lot of switching. Same with Adam on this side. Okay, pinch point. I've got one pinch point that really bothers me, and it's this one right here. If I had planned ahead a little better, I probably would have added or cut 6 inches off this peninsula, and it would have opened this up a little bit more. We can get through all right, but these guys here working on this area with the chairs and that, a lot of times it's pretty tight and it's a busy pinch point. Okay, north of Nashville, now we get to walking from one end of the railroad to the other with pictures here. So down here is staging. This track is the one that's being used right now from the other side. And they go up the helix here. And then they enter the railroad right about here. And double track main. And it goes around the bend to Guthrie that we were talking about where the L&N is. Let's see. Okay, before we go there, I want to discuss what I've done with this area. So this area, I had trouble trying to figure out exactly what to do as far as scenery goes. And I started looking a little bit more and talking to people, and a geologist that Tony Kester put me in touch with, because I talked to Tony about this. He recommended or he suggested that this area, because Nashville sits in a bowl, and between Nashville and Bowling Green is I guess you would call the top edge of the bowl. So the trains would go from Bowling Green, they'd climb, and then they'd descend into Nashville. But if you ever do a Google search south of Bowling Green, there are 2 tunnels. So they didn't get over all the land. They cut through some of it, and this worked out perfect for me. So the coming out of the first tunnel is coming off the helix and entering the layout. Then the second tunnel is right here, and this allowed me, by having another tunnel here, is to put the workbench area or the work area with the shelf that the crews could use while they're working the yard. Also, these are open through a cut, so the land drops down to the tracks from both sides. So this will work out fine. You'll look down in to see the trains, but the fascia can kind of follow the landform. Okay, here is the coming out of the second tunnel, and that would be right here. So the first tunnel into the second tunnel, and then out of the second tunnel. And this is all set up for the work crews. And we'll get back. I've got some more pictures of this we'll follow. Okay, so Guthrie, the main line comes up around the end of this peninsula, and it's double tracked all the way down to here. Then it goes to single track. The L&N gains access to run into town to both the main yards at this point, and Tennessee Central will come out of here and run to Adam and the interchange. So this is the first train order signal station. And the crews will pick up their orders down here before they leave, and then they have to watch for the lights on each of these, because if they get a red, they have to stop and pick up new orders. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Okay, so after the double track goes to single, it goes into this wall and it comes around over into Adam on this side. This is just looking down on the track work. Something else, I originally had the ground throws mounted at the switches. I redid them all and put them out to here. And even one place or a couple of places I scenicked it, and then I started using fast tracks. So now I'm actually taking these Atlas tracks and rebuilding them into fast tracks for about $2-3 a switch. It makes it a lot nicer switch. And I can't do any scenic work until I get all these switches rebuilt to fast tracks quality. Okay, and here's just a train coming down the main line, passing the station. This is during an op session. And here's Ron working on the local switcher. Okay, Adam. This is the original way Adam was set up with shortly after it was complete. And we had a single track, came around the back and then down past the station and on. Get these buildings right here. These industries provide a lot of traffic for Adam. You can see the ground throws were all mounted at the switch. Well, let's see. These were electric here on the main. So later, what I wanted to do when I brought Tennessee Central in, the Tennessee Central track is inside the main here. We moved the main line back and I put Tennessee Central track here. So it enters the yard at this point. Then it shares the tracks it needs to do its own work. The Tennessee Central has its own customers and Nashville Road has their own customers.
Excuse me, Andrew, I've got a question about that scene.
Yes.
Do you have any problems uncoupling cars between those tall buildings? Or do you use magnetics elsewhere?
Oh, this might. My grandson's calling me. I'll decline it for now. Usually what we do is we use skewers and we will offset the couplers with the skewers and push them back in.
Okay.
So that has worked for us. Nothing is perfect, we found out with uncoupling these things. Passenger trains in the passenger terminal are going to be even worse. But that's what we've been doing.
Thanks.
Oh. I'm sorry. So anyways, we're still working on this. As you can see, I've changed all the ground throws out to the switches, or from the switches to the fascia, but now these tracks have to be rebuilt, the switches. So I'm not going to do anything in here about scenery. And just to show you, Adam. Okay, now, I was lucky, a friend of mine, Matt Lappin in Indiana, had this on his layout and he decided he didn't want it anymore. He's turned his layout down and he offered it to me. I drove down to Indiana and got it. That's one heavy piece of plaster. It's on a thick piece of plywood or board. And so I brought it home and colored it to the color I needed and cut this whole section out of the layout so I could put it in here. Now these cars are sitting on the interchange track. The main line's just behind them. So I'll go down. Here's the interchange track all the way up to this point, and there's another interchange track on this side. And the Nashville Road will bring cars in and set them off and pick up the outbound cars. This is all within yard limits. So Tennessee Central will come out here, use the main line, set the northbound cars on this track because they can stop here and just pull them from here. And these cars are pulled from this end southbound. And then all the inbound cars are set on this track. Tennessee Central comes into town, does its work, brings the outbound cars and sets them, picks up the inbound and takes them back with them. Here's a couple more pictures, different angle. Those buildings are just sitting there. This is going to be more country scene. Okay, Cedar Hill Yard. Now this is that satellite yard I was discussing. And this is a very early picture. And this is kind of, if you don't like what you've got, change it. You know, it's never too far. The guys laugh at me because I'll go quite far and then rip something out and replace it to make it the way I want it. This is the way I built all the shell of the different levels and mounted all the supports as needed. But what I want to point out here, this was a fairly narrow deck. I took these vertical supports and I moved them in closer to the 2x2s. And then I added a piece of wood at the back end of this plywood, and it gave me a few more inches for what I needed. This was originally mainline only with a passing siding, and these tracks were in for the gravel pit operation. And you'll see how it's changed. I've actually added a little too many pictures here of this construction. It's not really necessary, but you can see where the wood was added, and then the backdrop was added in. This is after it was done. The tracks was extended, and this will hold 27, 28 hopper cars. So this is the yard itself. And what's interesting is if you look down here, actually, let me go back to this. No, I think it's on a track later on. The main line is now in the middle of the yard, and the passing siding is next to it. And they're both still on cork. Everything else is down a little lower. So this is after I did all the work on bringing these out. And I have, I should say, pictures and explanation of how I did all this. And that's in part 2 of my my PowerPoint presentation. But now these switches have to be rebuilt. So all the scenery I did, I'm going to have to kind of mess it up, pull the switches, rebuild them, and then relay them in place. And then I'll be able to finish everything off. And the crews can stay quite busy here. You can see we've got road trains making set-offs and pickups. We've got the local switcher building up local trains. There's 3 or 4 local trains plus additional switchers. This was my first attempt at backdrop painting. And this was done by Chris Lyon. This wasn't done by him, but Chris Lyon taught me how to do this. And it's with Mars Black, which is actually a very, very dark blue, and cadmium yellow. You just mix the 2 and you come up with this. And I also show that in part 2. So looking down the line a little bit, you've got a coal tower that's no longer in use. You got diesel facilities here, caboose track, and then some industries will be down here. And then they depart and head north. Okay, Hickory Junction is across from Cedar Hill. I've actually got a little more done than this, but no buildings. But I've rebuilt all these switches, and now the ground throws are mounted out to here. And this is a paper mill operation. So a lot of pulp wood coming in. Normally boxcars wouldn't be sitting here. And it's all going to be building flats along the back here. And let me go to the next one. This track and this track will be used for outbound loads, paper products. So there'll be a big building along in here also. This switch down here and this track is the beginning of Hunter branch. So that goes to the town of Hunter, and it services a couple of other towns en route. And this signal right here is the beginning of CTC when we get CTC operating. And the interesting thing is right above it, and I'll point that out later, is Oak Hill. And that is the last CTC signal and back into dark territory. So we're coming out of dark territory into CTC and up above CTC into dark territory. So you get to go around the railroad completely under CTC once we get it up and running. Okay, Hunter. This is, if you remember, I showed you where the track starts to climb. The Hunter Valley is the branch is the track in the back, and it stays level. And it actually comes under a bridge right here, and I'll show you right here. Then it services a couple of small towns. Not much to look at now, and a team track and a little industry, and of course, just throw a building in, so I got one. And then this is coming into the town of Hunter. And I'll just show you a few shots of it here. So the feed operation, the feed mill down here has a fair amount of traffic, and there's a few industries here and some more to be added up in this area. And this area here, my storyline, this was actually the branch line that continued on to the next town, but it was cut right here, and the trains no longer went any further in Hunter. And this part, a part of that track became a pulpwood operation. So we'll have against the backdrop here, a lot of pulpwood loads for them, and they'd go to the paper mill. Okay, North Gresham Industrial District, and that is right up here. This building is Ford Motor Company. And it does go around the corner, but the only railroad portion is right in here. We can put, I believe it's 12 cars in this side-by-side bay, and then tank cars, hopper cars, and that go in here with different chemicals and products and such. And also a produce area, and we can get quite a few cars in here. Then Madison Industrial District. One thing I'd like to point, this track right here comes out of the yard, Gresham Yard, never touches the main line. So when the guy leaves Gresham Yard, he can stay on this track all the way down to Madison, which is over here, and I'll show that to you. So this is Madison. Here's where that track comes down. He's got a passing track that he can use to work with the cars. He's got, I've got 2 or 3 different different angles you'll see here. He's got several different industries here, and a freight house that can be pretty busy. There's a freight house there, a tire company here, and some other different industries. And there's a freight house, you can see. The guys like this because they're kind of off on their own. There's nobody to bother them. We don't bother them. They get their train, they come down there, just take all the time they need to switch. And when they're done, they just go back up to the yard. They don't have to mess with the dispatcher. They just have to get clearance into the yard by the yard master. So it's a fun job. Okay, Gresham Yard itself. Gresham Yard is I would say it's the biggest yard on the layout. The other yard, Ribo's, pretty big too. This is from the other end, so that's a classification yard you saw first. This is a local yard, so everything that's going to be delivered in and around Nashville is classified into this yard, and then trains are built. The local trains are built and taken out of here. And these flats we're starting to put up now. Some of you are probably aware of them, but the Radical Flats, Kings Mill, and they're great buildings. Right now, they're not available. I understand that Scenic Express might be coming out with them. They, from what I've heard, they've bought the rights to them, but I don't know that for a fact. But I highly recommend them if you can get a hold of them. Okay, this is a very long train, a lot longer than we normally have. We usually stick to 25, 30 cars. But he's on arrival track 1. We have 3 arrival tracks, 1, 2, and 3. We have the thoroughfare track, which they use, it's this track right down here in front of the locomotive. Use that to get from one end to the other of the yard. You got 6 classification tracks. And then these 2 tracks are used by the local yard switcher to build his trains and classify trains. And this is down at the local yard end. And just picture the classification yard in general. Oh, I can point this out to you. This is what I wanted to put in and was going to be in the way of the deck below it as far as the scenes go. So it turned out really nice that I could make a tunnel in that area. And this works out well for the crew. They got a little shelf they can work on and work with the car cards. This is my neighbor's uncle that lives down in Indiana. He comes up and visits, and every time he does, we get together and we run trains. He's got his own layout down in Whiting. And just another shot of the local yard and the caboose. Now, also, the local yard was completely different, and I ripped it up and rebuilt it because I knew I could make it better. So, and I'm glad I did, even though I hate ripping stuff up. If you don't like it now, you're going to hate it later. So take care of it. Okay, this is from the end of the Main Peninsula. You can see the double track main down in the corners here. Then you can see it traveling up there. It stays at elevation above the yard. And it runs along the back of the main yard and then crosses the main yard with this triple bridge. The roundhouse, and we'll see some more pictures of this roundhouse, the diesel facilities and such. Okay, this is some of the, and none of my equipment's been painted except for 9 GP7s that a friend painted for me, and I decaled them. Nothing else has been done. The caboose, he also paints some of the cabooses. But I'm really looking forward to getting my workbench set up and start working on the models. It's a 12-stall roundhouse. And then the diesel facility. This is the area you can service, a fair amount of locomotives on the 2 tracks here. And then we've got ready tracks and service tracks in the diesel shop. So down here, we'll go down here next, and that's downtown industrial. So downtown industrial has a fair amount of work. Again, I just threw these buildings in. This track here is a clean out track, and it's actually set at an angle. One side has got a spacer under it, so it's easier to clean out the boxcars and such. The rip track is back behind us next to the diesel shops. Oops, I'm sorry, wrong way. This small yard can be for overflow, but the back 2 tracks are going to be used for the coal train that comes in. The powerhouse is going to be sitting wrapped around this wall right here. And bring a full load of coal in and take empties out. And then down here, I keep going backwards here. Another industry right here and hold about 12 cars. And then here they go under the main, and the REA, I'm sorry, the LCL freight house will be mounted right here. And you can hold about 28 cars, 28 40-footers in here. These 2 tracks will drop down, or they do drop down, go around the passenger station. And this is the main line here, and that continues on around and goes behind the passenger station. It will be hidden. Okay, so the main line is right here with a crossover. Then you see the switches to get into the passenger terminal. And then this is the track that drops down into the yard from the main line. So this is called South Gresham. So the Union Terminal, I was very happy, very lucky. This was given to me by a group of modelers from Indianapolis. It's a model of the Indianapolis Union Station. The gentleman that built it had passed away. It actually sat in the real Union Station, and inside this window here. That's where their layout was. And when a hotel took it over, they had to move. Nobody knew what to do with this. Somebody was just storing it. And when they came up to see my railroad, they said, we got the perfect station for you. And I agree with them. I'm very happy with it. When done, there'll be a road down this side, both sides of the station, and one across the front. This is looking down into the station from the south. These switches here, I've rebuilt all these number 8 switches into fast track switches. And I custom laid a crossing in here. I think it's on the next picture. This is where the REA will be. The head house is right here. There's platforms that go down on both sides of these cars. And then there'll be about a 3-story building that goes all the way down to the passenger station with docks, doors all along it for the baggage to be emptied and such. And basically it's just going to hide this double track. The ceiling will, or the roof will go back over to the backdrop. Okay, here's where I rebuilt everything. So these are now the same as a fast track. It's just they've still got some of the plastic ties that I could save, because that's the most expensive part, is the ties in the fast track kits or switches. And then this was used copper clad ties for this whole thing, glued them down, then soldered all the rail to those copper clad ties. And then I use after putting the cuts I needed for electrical reasons, I use a frog juicer. So everything stays powered and the switcher runs through them really nice. This track here is a thoroughfare track, and you got 7 tracks for trains. The tower, we've got a tower at both ends, and I can show you we use hump yard purveyance throws. And I've got a picture or 2 of those. We'll have 3 of these. There'll be on one more shed here, and it'll be about 8 foot of trains under roof. But it'll also be that I can pick these up if I have to, just to get at them. At this end, this is one of the areas covered siding will be attached to a multi-story building, which is U.S. Post Office. And that'll be right here. There'll be a track coming off this switch in here. And there's another one, a switch that's out of the scene coming into this one. And again, that building will basically be covering the whole double track main. It'll come up and then back over to the backdrop. This is the lead into the Tofsy yard, the trailer and flat car yard. And here it is looking down. 2 tracks are Nashville Road tracks, and the other 2 are the B&O Rock Island tracks. And these cars won't be sitting here. I don't think it's too safe to have them that close to the track. There's another just view of these. Okay, the Howard Hump Yard Purveyance, the gentleman that made these passed away, and I understand his son is no longer selling them, or the website's not up. But basically, these cables with wires in them connect to all the purveyance controls, and you link them all up to your points. The wire's very fine though, and I worry that you put scenery, ballast, and that down, that you might have trouble throwing those points all the way. Okay, coming out the south end, this engine, a buddy of mine, Fran Schaefer, has Pensy equipment here, but this is where the sand hopper, or the covered hopper, and fuel oil and such will be sitting on this track, and this will be the engine servicing track. Just a little past that, you can see the main line up here, and 3 tracks are the coach yard. And then this is the run-through track for the engines if they're going back to this roundhouse back here. And these two tracks are the leads into the station. So, and they cross each other here, and then they turn around. I think I got I got a closer picture. They go out and join the main line right out here. Okay, Ribo Yard's right next to the passenger station. There's the turntable, the roundhouse, I should say, that we haven't done much of, but that'll be completed one day. Diesel house way down the other end. And this is 6 classification tracks, a thoroughfare track, and then 2 arrival departure. And these are very long. They're a lot longer than they look here. This wall is 56 feet from the arrow to behind us, and it's all Ribo Yard, just about, with some switching at this end, industrial switching. This is looking down a little bit from an angle. The yard office is that building right there. One of the things I wanted to point out, when you're doing a multi-deck layout, you've got to be very careful that you aren't putting one thing above another that's going to cause interference with the crews. Now, you might say, wow, this yard is right under this yard. That's going to cause problems. But luckily, and the way I designed it, the crews that work up here are outside of what these crews, where they have to be down here. So the guy working at this end of Ribo Yard would be behind the camera, and Craig is down here working at the other end. Craig is probably building trains, and this end classifies the inbounds. And then Tim Childs is working on this yard down here, normally sitting on a little roller chair. So, and he'd be sitting right in this area, and this is the pinch point we talked about right here.
Andy, did you design the railroad yourself?
Yes, I did. And I'm not good at really finite designing or detailing. So I designed the basic thing. And then as I started laying track, I made changes as I saw fit, as I saw it would be better to not do it the way I planned. And even like I was saying, I put a fair amount of things in that I ripped up and redid just because I knew that they weren't right. And in the long run, they were not going to work out the way I wanted them to.
How did you decide on the height of the different levels?
Was kind of guessing at it, to be truthful with you. The very first thing I put down was a staging track. And I knew that was going to be hard on the back. It wasn't so bad when there's nothing above it, but after I started putting the first level down, the 31-inch above it, I could see, is going to create a little bit of a problem. But if we powered up everything, the switches and that, we wouldn't have to reach in there too much. So, that worked out. But basically, I would put something down at the height I thought I would be best at, and just kind of worked with it to see, I could raise it a little bit or drop it a little bit. I didn't get too technical. I also, talked to other people or looked at what other people had done. And, if it looked like it was good for me, then I would go ahead and go with that and then just modify it if I had to.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So the engine servicing facilities here, and this is something I don't know if I like it or not. Every track is at a diagonal off this running track or the lead going into the engine servicing. It works well. This track and this track that these engines are on are the 2 servicing tracks. And then the next track is, let me get a different picture here. Yeah. There's the 2 servicing tracks. This track here is the lead for the switcher to use when he's working with these. He pulls them out on this track. So this track and this track are your servicing leads. And then I'm trying to remember. One track is for fuel oil, sand, and materials coming in. There'll be a building and such. And here again, I've just put things here just so we have them. I don't want these buildings in the long term. Here again, you see a little bit better. One of these tracks is a rep track, and one or two of them, this track here and in the front of the engine house, and even the lead going around to the roundhouse and turntable, they can all be used as a ready track. And then you can see I can get 2 ABA sets back here on the further track, and then probably about 4 units on this one. So I've got enough tracks to hold the trains, but in reality, for the amount of trains I have going south on the Rock Island, I got way too much power. My problem is I love Rock Island, and I ended up with like 60 F units of sorts. I got real lucky, not to use up too much time, but these are the Atlas, the Athearn Genesis. And I went to a train show and the guy was selling them for $25 a unit. And I even questioned him thinking, he was wrong, but he said, no, 25. So I bought for, I think it was $225. I bought 9 units. And so I got 3 ABA sets out of those. So that's, any other questions on Ribo? Okay. So
I have just a general question, if I might. How big is your build crew, the crew that helps you build a layout?
it was me.
Really, just you?
Yeah, the basic layout. My wife would come down whole things. I might have at times had someone help me with something, but that's an interesting question. I was kind of a loner building it. But also I'm going to be 76 in January, and I'm starting to realize I don't think I'm going to get this done. So I talked to my buddies. Some of them are here tonight, and they are now my work crews, and they come in and we work every Tuesday morning. Of course, not right now with Michigan shut down, but we do the masks. We're in our own areas working, and we got carpet down, new floor down in the break room, the wainscot, and the chair rail, and all the new doors. So I'm getting a lot more done. And I have Terry and his wife are they're ballasting. John Young showed them how to ballast, and they took off, and they're just ballasting the main line like crazy, which I really appreciate. So it's nice having friends that are interested in that. And I'm really glad that I did change, and I got the crew working with me.
If I lived in Michigan, I'd be happy to be on your crew.
Well, thanks, John. I appreciate that. I hope you get up here and visit us sometime.
Hope so too.
So any of you come in this way, try and make it. We'll set up an op session. I'm always ready to have an op session. So are my buddies. Oh.
Andrew, let me ask you a question, because I know a lot of people would love to be able to operate on your railroad. Do you have criteria for an operator? I mean, are there certain qualifications before you let somebody operate?
No, not at all. We feel that it's really important to get people involved in operations. We really enjoy teaching them. And the other good thing, especially if it's a local guy, if he's coming back, we want him to learn the right way for us. And, we teach them how we want it to operate. And it's really loose here. Guys screw up, I screw up, we laugh at each other, but we have a good time. And we try to operate prototypically. And some of us operated with Jack Ozanich, and I think most of he passed. But when you went to Jack's, and hopefully in the future going to Jack's because the layout's still there, it was like going to work on the railroad for the day, and it was challenging, and it was all day. Jack liked to run long sessions, and we do the same thing, but it's a little less strenuous here. But I'm really interested in people learning how the railroads operated, and I'm learning as I go also. I've got guys that come and operate with me, know a lot more about it than I do. So, we all learn from each other. So
Do you have a list that people could maybe try to get on so that they would find out when you're going to have an operating session? And
certainly, those on Facebook, just shoot me a message on Facebook or
what's your Facebook page, Jack?
it's just, well,
Okay.
Nashville Road, best to just Nashville Road.
Okay.
And also, I have Andrew Keeney, I have my Facebook page. But also Hunter48820 @yahoo.com, and just shoot me a message. And what I do is I send a message out to everybody, and they let me know if they can make it or not. And we get up to a certain point, then we've done it in the past where everybody wants to come. Well, that doesn't work out so well when you got 30 guys show up. It's, not fair to everyone. So we're kind of sending out message and picking the first ones, or first of all, the guys that are really important to have, and then the first come, first serve for the others.
You mentioned that are you still making changes in your design, or is that pretty well set in your mind now?
Not locally, just in local areas. Like I want to put a chemistry or a chemical plant in, and I haven't laid track or anything because I'm not sure what I want to do. And there's a couple of other industries that I'm going to change out. But for the most part, the main line and most of the main city switching areas, that they're all set. They're not going to be changed.
Yeah.
So this area is South Ribo, and it's just an area off Ribo. This is a lead coming out of the yard. And again, no buildings of any size that we will have here in the long term will be all throughout this. But we still can switch all the cars, and it can be, you can see these cars sitting here. A lot of times the overflow shoved in here just to get out of the yard. But the guys like switching these and it's fun. So now we'll go on to South Nashville. Now, South Nashville is, as it says, South Nashville, and it's switched by the Rock Island and the B&O. And one thing I got to point out, you're going to see a lot of these rocks. This is before I got into the stratus, the sedimentary rock that is really more realistic for the Tennessee area, especially the west end. So those all have to be ripped out and replaced. But this is the track that comes out of Ribo Yard, and it comes down and got a couple other shots you'll see. It goes down through here, in through this tunnel. It goes around the end of the peninsula and it comes out into South Nashville. But they switched this one on the way back and they switched this one on the way in. Here they are. And then also I can point out, this is going to be, this is dammed in that, and this is the mill, and it actually powered by the dam. This a little bit better shot, or a little different angle. And then they come out here. They come out on this track or this track. There's a switch just down here. And they've got a yard they can use. They bring their cars down, then they do all their own setting up for the switching job. The chemical plant's going to be going in here. It's a pretty good sized blob here that I just try and figure out the best way to do it. And then all the way around here, around this area, down here will be buildings. You'll have the railroad docks on the front, and then there'll be second floor or third floor will be the truck docks on the back. So this will all be a downtown flats along here with a roadway, and then the docks coming into the buildings. So you can look down on it, see it a little bit better. And then down in here is they bring a coal train in. We do it every day, which probably every month and a half, say every third session. And you bring a 30-car coal train loaded and pull out the empties, and they go back north on the B&O. And a I should say, a power plant's going to be sitting right here. So that keeps them pretty busy there. South End. Okay, South End is everything from the south of Nashville to Columbia. And here we go back. This is double track main. And if you remember, I told you, you can see the signal down here where CTC will start. Right up here is where CTC ends. Excuse me. And right at this point, you go from double track main to single with single dark territory passing sidings. And here's the first train order station with just a little building here the operator would sit in, and he would handle the traffic coming through here, the orders and such. Okay, I'm going to take you across the top, not show you every foot of track. This is the first town of Cassidy, and you're going to see this building show up 3 or 4 times. Sean Billsma built this for me as a kit I had, nice wood kit. And he custom painted it. He got the paints and got the colors just right. And I love it. It's just, he did a great job. But Cassidy will have a charcoal industry. At this time, I don't have it in. There's also going to be a team track and then an additional pulpwood operation. Got to feed my paper mill. Across from it, here again, Cassidy, across from it is Brentwood. And Brentwood is a small town, and it has a team track, more pulpwood. And my part 2 video, and the video that I showed Jim's group the first time, we were discussing this here, how I did the basic stuff on the scenery and the trees. Around the corner from Brentwood, again, is Franklin. So the Franklin Junction is here, and the NC St. Louis trains come out of here and go back in there. There's a team track here and a passing siding at Franklin. There's our Cassidy station again, and this is an area that I used as I finished this or built it. It's not finished. I showed each thing that I did to get this done. N scale buildings. Now, this is the sedimentary rock. It's a little out of focus, but the sedimentary rock there works out a lot better for me than the cast granite rock and that. One thing I don't think I pointed out to you, I hate to go all the way back. I should have a picture of it at this section. I'll add one. But where this comes out of the wall, I actually had to cut into the wall. Maybe you saw that when I was showing pictures of the station. Because these trains on the upper deck, we didn't want them flying across the top of this station. So they're going to be hidden by a backdrop of masonite that will be painted, and flat buildings will be on it and such. So I had to, one of the things, again, I talked to Tony Kester about this, and he mentioned or suggested, how are you going to have the trains hide, going into the wall? They just fly into the sky? And I thought about it, and what I did was I put a very large piece of fascia in that area. I'm not sure if you'll see another picture of that or not, but it kind of showed, it separated the sky and this area right here enough that I think it worked out pretty good. This is the last town. It's Spring Hill. There's a passing siding here. There's a team track and also another pulpwood operation. And along with that is down here is the coaling and water towers. Don't forget, it's a lot of steam works this area. So steam should stop and get serviced, get their at least water, if not coal. Now that, I should say, that is the last town. And then you have some running to get to the staging. I ran across the railroad from one end to the other, and it took, at the speed, which I thought was a realistic speed without stopping, it was just shy of 45 minutes to run it. And something else I should point out, none of the crews run all the way across the railroad. They run from either Ribo or Gresham Yard in either north or south, on the appropriate train. But there's no through trains per se with the crew. We do have through trains, but they stop and they might be worked at the yard, and then new crew takes them. And of course, with the both of them, they have to change power. They're either going to go from steam to diesel or diesel to steam, Rock Island to B&O or B&O to Rock Island. So it keeps the yard crews busy, and it gives the crews time to take a break between runs. And you'd have to ask my crews, but I think they like that. Okay, planning for operations. This is just an overview. My part 3 is going to be on operations and how we did it, how we designed the car card system, and how we use it, and everything else that has to do with operations.
You're going to come back and show us that when you get it finished?
Yeah, let's see. After April, May, I should have it done by May.
May, I'll send you an email.
Actually, you could do part 2 in May, and then maybe September, part 3.
That would work for me. I'll send you 2 emails.
Okay, sounds good. So this one here, we'll just go over real fast. This is the dispatcher's office, and inside, this is his desk. He's got a Barney Fife telephone here. And over here is the control panel for all the station the signals. If he flips these down, they turn red, and they also turn red out at the station for the train order signals. You can see Bowling Green sub and the Columbia sub, and later we'll add this for Guthrie and Franklin. This is for something else, but it's something that we'll add to the operation. Train order signals we already talked about. I wish this was lit, but it wasn't. This is the desk that a dispatcher that will operate CTC will use, and he'll use a monitor like this. I would love to have a real CTC panel. I could never afford a real one, but if we could build one up using appropriate parts, that might be something we'll look at in the future. But right now, it's going to be a monitor. Now, this is the station operator's desk, and the station operator, he is equal to each of the guys sitting out at each station along the way. The dispatcher dictates the orders to him, and then he writes those orders and he delivers them to the crew. So get a little closer here. That board there was taken out, and that's what's in the dispatcher's office now. And right here is a clearance train order yellow sheet and a clearance card. And no train can be on the main line outside yard limits without clearance. So they have to get both of these before they can go on the road. If they're a timetable train, all they need is a clearance, because they'll go by the timetable. So he will take his orders, the orders for the crew, and walk to wherever the station is and hang them on a clip for the crew. We have 10 clocks in the system here, and we can control the speed at that they go. Right now, we're about 1.5 to 1. And that's pretty good for the yards keeping up, because they still operate 1 to 1. So they can't kick cars, so sometimes it takes a little longer. There's another clock. And then there's the one in the dispatcher's office. Okay, Ron St. Laurent built this box for me. He actually built all the clock workings, the electronics and that. He worked with Mike Dodd. Mike Dodd is the guy that sells it. And we bought it. Ron had several problems. He worked with Mike and they got it all straightened out. And then, like I say, Ron built this for me. And this, I believe, is from Mike Dodd. And this kind of explains the system. We really like it, though. It's worked well for us. So the crew lounge, it's now got a nice floor. It's a composite, but it looks like a wood floor. It's got six panel oak doors, replace these. The Lansing Club, which Ron belongs to, and several of my other operators belong to, they gave me these chairs, donated the chairs to the crew lounge, which we really appreciate it. They're stackable, so it's nice to get them out of the way. And we continue to work and do things in here to make it better for the crews while we're taking our break. And we have to have a place to put all the food. That's really important. So the lighting, I just wanted to show the lighting, and the lighting is dimmable, so that's nice. We got the ceiling lighting in there. We can show videos and such for the crews as they sit and wait. Got a brand new door. This has been taken out. This has been filled in. It's a wall now. And the new door is right here. And my workstation is going to be from the wall all the way over to that door. And so right in this area is where the airbrush booth is going to be. So I can start doing my painting again and working on stuff. Kazunite.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. And then this is the last one in the crew lounge, probably the most important, is all your throttles. So we've got those hanging. This door's been removed. We found out that it's a pain in the butt and we don't need it. So while we're redoing the room, we just pull this door out. So, and now for some fun, just some quick pictures of the guys when they're operating. And yours truly. And then the future. 1969, I wish these were mine, they're not, but I've got a fleet of them. I've got 10 636s and 10 630s, along with about a dozen others. So I'm really looking forward to being able to have the two airs. And that's it.
Hey, Andy, I have a question. Have you or your crew operated with Wii throttles with smartphones at all?
You know, I did it once or twice. We had one of our guys that now he operates with Mike Brigette all the time. He was really into that stuff, and he got our smartphones working, but I've thought about maybe that might not be a bad way to go when we start having trouble with these throttles, because they're getting old.
Yeah, one of the guys in my crew introduced it, and now almost everybody uses them, and now all of my throttles are just sitting around doing nothing.
That's not all bad. You know, that's because sometimes we get short on throttles, especially if you have a couple of problem throttles. So we can have a lot of trains running at one time. So that would really be good to have your phones as a backup. But that's something that I'm going to talk to the guys about a little bit more, because I even have a second router that I understand I can dedicate to it for better signaling. You can, it's kind of a satellite off the other router. So, but I don't know that much about it. So
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy things you can do now with Wi-Fi and signaling and
right
stuff.
Yep, exactly. So is there anybody else that?
Andrew?
Yes, sir.
There's a plug for somebody we haven't had. TCS, do you know who they are?
Oh, yes, I do.
They make a throttle that uses Wi-Fi and will interface, they have interfaces for it. Of course, if you've got loads of money, there's the proto throttle, but
yeah, I'd love to have that.
Yeah, one of the guys in
also,
my crew,
there is somebody who makes the little levers and backgrounds to make a pseudo CTC panel I
Yes,
can't think
Rick.
of who they are at the moment.
Yeah, Rick.
Okay.
Rick
Yeah,
those.
I was once a member of the Columbia Gorge Club. I lived in Portland. I'm now in Arizona, so I'm not a member of that club anymore. But they built a CTC panel, and it was just a piece of masonite painted green, the appropriate green,
Right.
and a bunch of controlled switches and whatever. So it can be done, but it took them like a year and a half.
Right. There's a he's a school teacher. I can't think of his name. But down Indianapolis, he's just outside Indianapolis. I haven't seen him much on the internet for the last few years, but he built a beautiful one and built it from scratch using I think using plastic and having, it looked like the real thing when he was done.
Yeah.
He sent me a CD on not really how he built it as much as just a lot of information on it.
Yeah, they even found somewhere a screw that it wasn't button head or carriage bolt. It was an actual truss head.
Oh,
And the right size, it looks just like the rivets.
huh.
You just screw it in the masonite or plastic or whatever, and it looks just like the rivets.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it took them a year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had fun.
Andy,
Yes, sir.
what size is your basement?
It's not rectangular. It's I can give you the max dimensions, but it's really,
Yeah,
56 is the longest, and then the other is around 48.
wow.
So, but a large area of the layout is only maybe 20 by 40. And then you've got maybe like a T shape. You got the base is 20 by 40, and then across the top 56 by 12, maybe.
Yeah, I know I've been there a couple of times and it just keeps going on and on and on. Gee, you get lost down there.
Yeah, people have trouble finding the outdoor.
I guess you're going to have signs this way out.
Yeah. Well, I've really actually worried get emergency lighting. So if you lose all your power, emergency lighting comes on and can help them, escape.
Yeah, that's a good idea because you would really be confused down there in the darkness.
Right.
Especially trying to find a way out. So,
yeah.
But fantastic layout.
Well, thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you again.
Well, thank you.
Keep up the good work along with all the rest of the crew.
Yeah. I tell you, I couldn't do it without them. The way I truly feel, though, it's our railroad because I never come down here to run trains by myself. I don't enjoy it. I just work on it. And now I've got them coming over and they work with me. It's like a club layout.
Mm-hmm.
And it works out well. So
similar to Bruce Chubb's.
Yes, exactly. So, was there anybody else? I don't want to
Andrew?
Yes, sir.
The where you have your ground throws at the fascia board, you have little tags or notes. What do they say?
Oh, they're basically just telling you, giving you more information on the switch, what it does.
Like what number track it controls or something?
Yes. Yep. You might one side say lead and the other says 3, track 3, L for lead or LD, whatever you use. And that's subject to change too. I might put something down there and if I've got crews coming up telling me that it's confusing, well, I don't want to be confused, so I'll modify them. And I've let some of them just do their own. They just put their own tags down. They're the ones using it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Andrew, when you start to take out some of those other turnouts and put in the fast tracks one, which we both know are the best. You'll be happy to know Tim has come up with a new system for crossings, and they go together in literally minutes, and you'll be able to replace all those plastic crossings as well.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing because I've got, well, you saw the crossings I got at Guthrie.
Yes.
I've got the 3 of them there, and I don't particularly like building crossings, you know, so that's great. And I did see something on that. I remember seeing a video on that.
Yeah, go on to his new on his website and you'll see the new ones. I think it's called I think he calls them the diamond lined or something, and they are fantastic.
Yeah.
I do a lot of clinics for Tim, and him and I are pretty good friends, so I know all about the fast track stuff. But this new stuff that he's developed are just it's just awesome.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. So, anybody else?
Andy, I just have one more question. What's your total footage of your main line?
It's over 1,100, but you know, it includes what I measured was from the time that the crew departs their track. So part of it's down on the lower deck and then coming up the helix. So I've counted all that for distance, and it's somewhere around 1,150.
Very impressive.
So, well, thank you.
Andy, when you have an operating session, which are the hardest positions to fill, in your opinion?
Probably the dispatcher, because he can stay pretty busy. He's running trains at both ends of the railroad, and he's got to work a lot of traffic, you know, coming at each other. So that's what I would say. The yards, if you've got your regular yard crews there, they love it. But every so often, maybe, you know, your yard guys aren't available, and you've got more guys that don't know the yard, and maybe they shouldn't be in the yard, but they're willing to try. So, which I appreciate. But I'll tell you, nothing a railroad will fall down very fast if you don't have good yard operation. And that's something that, you know, I like my yard people to do the same job in the same place until they really know it. And, you know, maybe start out as an assistant to the yard master and work together, and then they can be yard master if they need to be. But you also need guys that can cover for other guys, so they need to know more than one job. Then you got guys, all they want to do is run the road trains, and others, all they want to do is switch. So it's kind of neat. Let me do one thing here. Go here, virtual, none. Okay. Close that. Can you see behind me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not seeing a picture of myself. Let me see if I can show myself here. Okay. Let's see if I can work this. This is, I don't know how close I can get to it. God, you know, I feel like one of those dental assistants or technicians. They have to work on teeth and they use the mirror backwards. I'm doing everything backwards here, and I'm not getting. Oh, there we go. I gotta get out of the way. Okay. I guess, yeah. So on the right side, you can see here. I can actually get a little closer. On. I wish I could have my dog hold this. I could explain it. So all the trains are listed right down here that are going to run for the day. The 30, I can put 33 trains up there, and usually we don't get more than 33 trains done. And then the open slots, you can see the guys have their own name tags right here. All my regular crew has name tags, and they're magnetic, and they just take it and they select the train they want. When they come in, first guy comes in, if he wants, he can go ahead and select a train. put his name up there. And I never assign trains unless I've got a train that's getting ready to go and there's no crew. Then I'll grab the guy at the bottom, put him up there, and hopefully he'll get that done and be back to take the train he wanted. But it's worked out really well. They have the call time up there. They know that they've got to either see the dispatcher or go to the staging yard, and their orders will be there. So it'll tell them when they can depart. And then also they can go to the yard master and he'll tell them what power they have, where to get the power, and where the train is and such. So it kind of takes me out of having to lead everybody around by their hand. Because what we used to do is I would have a list and I'd have to find guys and put their name down, and I wouldn't be spending a lot of time on the list. And all of a sudden I realized I had 2 or 3 trains that should have gone out that didn't, because I didn't call a crew for them. So this way, I'm gonna put this back now. This way, we kind of take care of it ourselves, and we can walk in here at any time, look up on the board. And if we see a crew sitting around and they're assigned to a train and the time's gone by, ask them, you know, are you waiting for your train, or did you forget your train? But it's worked out real well. So, and when you got that many guys here, it works out.
Is your role typically dispatcher?
No, I'm not allowed to dispatch, and they don't even like me running trains. Bob laughs. So, yeah, I'm kind of notorious for telling them what they have to do. Then I forget what I'm supposed to do when I get a throttle. So that's the bad part about owning a layout. Most of your time is going to be spent, you know, making coffee, fixing little problems. Big problems Ron takes care of for me. And I have to go to other people's layouts, and that's what I really feel bad about. I can't go to Jack's layout anymore. And his was really the only other layout I went to operate. And so not to be, what's the word I want to say? Not hoity-toity, I can't think of it. But I'm getting so used to the operating prototypically, I don't enjoy so much going and operating on Mother May I or something along that. And I'm not bad-mouthing it. It's just me, what I enjoy, what I want the challenge of doing it right. Of course, I could screw up a Mother May I too, so it's the way it is.
So Andy, what's the favorite position? What's everybody want to fight for?
I don't know. I don't know. Some of my buddies could tell you. But it's not dispatcher. It's not station operator. I think it's just train running. You know, they want to put their name on their favorite train. And it seems like there's no big arguments over who gets what train. I'm really lucky. I'm lucky in a couple of ways. I've got enough people that want to come and operate. So I never seem to be short of crew. And it really surprised me. I a friend down in Detroit area, and he only needs to get 7 or 8 people, and he has trouble getting 7 or 8. And then he tries to operate it prototypically, and all they want to do is run trains. And that just blows me away that, you know, in Detroit area, you know. And then I'm up here in Lansing, and I got guys driving up from Detroit and Ohio and Indiana and the west side of the state. And they all come to operate, and they're willing to do the way we want it, we as a group, not just me. And we get along great and have a good time. So, anybody else?
Andy,
Yes, sir.
just curious, what was or what is your profession? I mean, you must have had a decent job having all these wonderful trains around you.
I had 2 careers. Well, first of all, I was a fireman on the C&O back in 70, 71, 72. I started out in Detroit Terminal Railroad and then went to C&O. And then I went from there to Michigan State Police. And I retired out of the Michigan State Police well, let's see, I did 25 years as a trooper. I retired as a lieutenant. And then I did another 11 years of security at the governor's residence. And then, but before, along with that, and before all that, I went into the Army. I flew helicopters, and a year in Vietnam and a couple of years as a flight instructor. Then I went, oh, excuse me. A couple of years, well, let's see. No, I went into the National Guard then after I got out of the Army, and I did 36 years, both the state police and the National Guard. And then my son followed me, and he retired as a helicopter pilot. He flew Blackhawks, and I flew Hueys in Vietnam, and then Cobras in the Guard. So, and then state police, I flew for 15 years. And then I got out of aviation, and I worked in different areas.
Thanks. Very interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Andy, what would you say your philosophy toward model railroading is?
Oh, just enjoy the parts of it that you like. You know, as we know, there's some people that have no desire to operate. And they have no desire to, or others have no desire to put buildings and everything, scenery. They're happy with track on a piece of plywood and get to operate. So I think it's really important to do what you think, you know, do what turns you on, I guess, keeps you fresh in the hobby. I've always had problems with people that burn out in this hobby and have to take a break away from it. And I'm just, what are they doing wrong? You know, this is something I love. I could operate on this every week. You know, I could have 20 guys in my basement every week, and I'd be happy as hell, you know? So it's hard for me to understand how people burn out. That's basically, I believe, my philosophy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I see John shakes his head. He feels the same way. Yeah.
Have fun. That's really it, right?
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, you're right there. And, you know, it's funny. Another thing that I found, you always have problems when you're building something. You know, you've got a problem and you just can't fix it. You don't know how to make it work. And I've come up with some of my best fixes at 2 a.m, laying in bed. And all of a sudden it'll hit you. He said, Jesus, it's so simple. Why didn't I see that? You know, and you before that, you coming up with all these different things, you know, they're not going to work. There's got to be something better. But you see, Clark sees that.
I'm so happy I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I've told people that one of the things that I most enjoy building my railroad, working on it, is having a problem and trying to figure out how to fix it. And I've always been able to fix every one of them. I've always been able to come up with it. So, you know, that's probably the nugget that I like the best, you know, as far as helping someone get over a hard spot. Because I hear guys, they just get to a spot and they just leave it. They're tired of it and they burn out. They don't stay there and work with it and get it figured out. I do have a question for you, Jim. Are these available on YouTube, these videos?
Yes, sir. As
Great.
soon as we can get them posted up there, Dylan goes through them and you know, takes out anything that needs to be taken out, errors, that kind of thing, and then we post them. It'll be up probably tomorrow sometime.
Okay, great. I can post that on my Facebook page then for anybody.
Absolutely. The more the merrier.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I'm really happy that we met, we got connected, and I've really enjoyed putting my programs on.
Well,
So,
listen, I will send you an email, and I'll count you coming back first part of May, hopefully.
that'd be great.
And then we'll do it in September if you want to come back again. I would love to have you, Andy, because your railroad is just fantastic.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I love your philosophy about operation. I love to hear the way that you talk about your railroad and talk about the operating capabilities that you've built into your railroad. I think it's an amazing design that you come up with. And I can't say any more about it. That's just unbelievably great work.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody have any more questions for Andy before we let him go until May? Andy, thanks so much. I really do appreciate it. It's been fantastic for you to be here today, and I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jim. And thanks all you guys for showing up.
Thanks for sharing, Andy.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, yes, thanks to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. So, and stay safe.
Andy Woodford.
Thank
Pardon me?
goodness we already had our Thanksgiving up here in Canada.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lull between Christmas, unlike you guys, where it just starts from now on
Yeah.
until January 2nd.
Yeah, I think it's
Going.
Clark. I
I
think it's
got
a
an
Canadian.
announcement for everybody.
Oh, hold on. TC, just hold on. What's it? What did you say?
I'd say I'm blaming the Canadians for our Christmas. All the stuff on TV on Christmas even before Thanksgiving. It comes in after your Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Every year it's earlier.
Yeah.
Oh man, they're already announcing Black Friday sales, and it isn't even Thanksgiving yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I wanted to tell people, I meant to say something at the beginning of the show, but Zoom, which we're using right now, so most of you have accounts, has removed all restrictions from the free accounts for Thanksgiving. You can talk to as many people for as long as you want with a free account.
Well, there you go, Bob. I'm going to bug you all day.
Well, listen, next Saturday is our next one. The 28th at 7 o'clock, we will return with Bob Farquhar, an excellent modeler. I really think you're going to enjoy him. And he thought he was going to have to do this tonight, and he almost fell off his chair.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that Bob's going to be with us Saturday. I really do enjoy talking with him, and I think you will too. One thing I do want to mention, people are saying, why on earth did you ever fool around with starting these virtual train show? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to come. So far, our show Saturday has had 1,100 views. Now,
Wow.
that's not too bad.
No,
For our second
Bob,
show,
did I spell your name right?
Now, keep in mind, everyone, that is between everything we created from the train show, which is pretty good.
Oh,
so if we're able to have that kind of draw, then for the second show we've put on, and the one in January is even going to be larger and better, I think, than this one was. I think we may be on the right track. My plan is to not stop these when the COVID-19 thing is solved and we don't have the restrictions anymore, because I don't think that we're competing with the regular train shows. If we were, the Great Scale Model Railroad in Timonium wouldn't want to be a sponsor for us. But we're not trying to compete with a regular train show. We're trying to be complementary to the regular train show. I'm hearing from people saying, I've been to every train show I think there is in this part of the country. I've never heard of most of the model builders or model manufacturers that I'm seeing on your Zoom virtual shows. I didn't even know they existed. Well, if we're able to help them get some visibility, and if we're able to get people starting to look for them at train shows, then I don't call that competition. I call that complementary. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We're not trying to compete with anybody. Right now, we're the only people that are even trying to put these together. And we think if the counts are showing the way they are, we think we're having some degree of success for the short period of time that we've been doing this. And because we're breaking new ground, none of us involved in this had ever done anything like this before. Hell, I didn't even know how to use Zoom. So, you know, we started from a blank slate. We still got one primarily, but we're finding a lot of people seem to like what we're doing. A lot of the vendors are happy with what we're doing. And now that we're starting to attract to what I believe are just first-class firms wanting to be sponsors with us, I think we're onto something. I think we have proven the concept, and now it's a question of building the audience. We need all the help we can from word of mouth to communicate about what we're trying to do here. And any help you can give us in that regard, we sure would appreciate it. And we hope to see you again Saturday. We appreciate you coming so much and hope that you enjoyed seeing Andy and talking with him and having an opportunity to spend some time with him. So thank you so much for coming. And anybody got any comments?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. Happy
Yep, happy
Thanksgiving. Have a